Okay, hi everybody. I'm back, and I was away from the computer, and there was some kind of lightning in the local area, and it made the internet turned off and canceled the program. So I hope everything is clear, and I hope the program survives. I'm converting it for you now, and I'm going on with commentary number 51 for Rules for Magic on the Astral Plane. This is the 12th of September, 2018. We're on page 431, and we've been speaking extensively of the new group of world servers and of its symbol, the golden triangle surmounted by a diamond on the upper apex, and that triangle enclosing an even-armed cross. And the symbol or the motto of the group, of the new group of world servers, very beautiful: the glory of the One. So now we go on. He says, more I may not tell you, but this will give you some idea of the reality of the work going on. It may serve as an incentive to fresh effort on the part of all working to equip themselves for selfless service. Well, that's what we should be doing. That is the way to help the hierarchy. That is the way to facilitate the externalization, the part that we can play, selfless service. That is the part that we can play in facilitating the reappearance of the Christ. And, forgetting the things which lie behind, I will strive towards my higher spiritual possibilities. And I dedicate myself anew to the service of the coming one, and will do all I can to prepare men's minds and hearts for that event. I have no other life intention. And of course, that last sentence, I have no other life intention, that's the big one. All right, moving on then. We are to take up now a very brief consideration of two types of energy of a major kind, which are in themselves composed of blended coordinating energies. The subject matter is therefore of so advanced a nature that it is useless for the aspirant to give much time to study. Volumes would be necessitated likewise if all that could be said were written, and it would only be possible in this book to outline some broad generalizations and to indicate certain facts of interest. The main reason that it profits us not to study these energies too closely is because the planetary spirit or logos and the planetary entity are the two forms in active manifestation which respond most forcibly to the impact of these energies. The human being responds, and that only subconsciously, because in his form nature he constitutes part of the planetary expression. Notice here that he does distinguish the planetary spirit from the planetary entity. And sometimes you will find that the planetary spirit is actually, well, let's say the planetary entity is meant when the term planetary spirit is used. But in this case, the differentiation is there, and that entity is an involutionary entity of great scope, but little development as yet. And the planetary spirit in this context is our planetary logos. So the human being responds, and that only subconsciously, okay, because he constitutes part of the planetary expression. So we're being offered a large subject here and told that maybe a few points of interest can be brought to us, but that extensive study in this area is not profitable for us. And how would we study it anyway unless Master DK had given to us the material to study, which he's apparently not about to do. The planetary spirit is a being who ages ago, many Mahamanvantaras ago, as they say, he was at the stage of the Master is now, a being who ages ago passed through the state of consciousness which we call the human state and has left it far behind. Okay, so we're talking about a little bit about the history of our planetary logos. He, using the personal pronoun simply for the sake of terminological clarity, although he is in a masculine incarnation at this time, we've been told, just as Venus is in a feminine incarnation, the logos of Venus. He has an origin which lies outside the solar system altogether. His life is focused in the planet. His consciousness lies in realms beyond the concept of the highest adept in our planetary hierarchy. So his origin, well, as they say, many Mahamanvantaras ago, initiates of the fifth degree, he had that type of development as have now initiates of the fifth degree. Now, it all depends on what we call a Mahamanvantara. There are different ways of looking at it. One way of looking at a Mahamanvantara is the entire duration of a solar system, but maybe that term can be used for shorter cycles too. Anyway, this is the important point, I think. His consciousness lies in realms beyond the concept of the highest adept in our planetary hierarchy, and in realms beyond. So it sounds like it's far beyond. The planetary entity, on the other hand, is the sum total of the forms which constitute the form through which the planetary spirit is manifesting, and therefore is the synthesis of the planetary physical, astral, and mental elementals. You know, that's so good. Such a good description that I think I will capture it and put it here and try to save it, you know. Okay, and planetary entity. And what page are we on here? We are on page 432. So let's just call this TWM 432. And we'll save it in our AAB extracts. Yeah, right. Planetary entity. All right. So we'll capture that and we'll have that because it's such a good definition. The planetary entity is the sum total of the forms which constitute the form through which the planetary spirit is manifesting, and therefore the synthesis of the planetary physical, astral, and mental elementals. We might say that it is I sometimes forget that I don't have available to me this little blue bracket, which helps me list my own comments. So the matter which constitutes this entity comes from the previous solar system. For the purpose of our consideration, this entity is the sum total of all the physical, mental, astral, and mental forms. Physical, mental, astral, and mental forms, which, is that correct? Maybe this doesn't seem to be my day, you know? Okay, Treatise on White Magic, and we're on page 432. Well, that's what it says. So, why is the word mental repeated? For the purposes of our consideration, this entity is the sum total of all physical, mental, astral, and mental forms. There seems to be an unnecessary repetition of the word mental. Well, we do discover the mistakes as we go along. Is it worth noting them? That's the question, and letting the publishers know. But I think for our purposes here, we can get rid of the word, the first use of the word mental. Okay, sum total of all physical, astral, and mental forms which, blended and fused, constitute our planet. Of course, our planet has entities connected with it which have much higher principles than just those. Each is the embodiment of energy, and these two major streams which produce the form and the consciousness aspect of our planetary existence make their impact on the human being. The human being is impacted by the planetary spirit and the planetary entity. The life of the planetary spirit makes its impact via the soul, but I think this involves the monad as well. And the life of the planetary entity is registered through the medium of the personality mechanism. Well, it says, when it says via the soul, you think it comes from another place. So, and when we use a word like spirit in regard to the planetary logos, we may be speaking of the highest nature of that logos and the highest nature of man. So I think it's spirit via the soul. Okay. So I'll just put that down, Spirit via the soul. The duality of these energies is primarily astral Buddhic, and the basis of the life forces and the general trend of the impulses influencing humanity in this great cycle are the attractive energy of the intuitional nature of the planetary logos and the potent force of the astral or desire body. In other words, the astral elemental, which embodies the desire nature of the planetary logos, is exceedingly potent. Now, this is on the, presumably, let's say all this is on the cosmic physical plane. The true desire body of the planetary logos, the true desire body of the planetary logos is on the cosmic astral plane. So, in other words, the astral elemental which embodies the desire nature of the planetary logos is exceedingly potent, particularly in this present cycle. Well, he's working on it towards the second initiation. As there is work going on towards the second initiation of the cosmic kind. But the strength of the spiritual and intuitional nature of the one in whom we live and move and have our being is steadily increasing. I think we are speaking here. We are speaking here of reflections on the cosmic physical plane of the planetary logos's true vehicles on cosmic planes. In other words, the cosmic astral body is found on the cosmic astral plane, the cosmic mental body on the cosmic mental plane, and so forth, but there are reflections on the cosmic physical plane. And this is all, I think, because the planetary logos is at the stage of evolution at which he finds himself. So, which is, as I say, we do not master in any respect our astral body until we take the second initiation. And even though our planetary logos is taking the fourth in a series of 7 initiations, as it seems, he has not taken his second cosmic initiation, thus mastering his cosmic astral body. And so he is polarized somehow on the 4th level on the cosmic astral plane. In other words, his cosmic astral polarization is on the 4th level, which means there's a fight going on until harmony is achieved, and he can move upward to the 5th level or 3rd, as Venus is now found, Venus itself, the logos of Venus, moving to the 6th or 2nd level. Okay, well, what is the result here? True vehicles on the cosmic planes. Okay. On the one hand, you have the devastating expression of the wild hunt for pleasure, of sex and the crime incident to the satisfying of desire. And, you know, this is quite a sacral focus. He tells us when our logos succeeds in lifting quite a bit of the sacral energy into the solar plexus, that a certain percentage, quite a large percentage, of sex crime will end. So, but it's not immediate. On the one hand, you have the devastating expression of the wild hunt for pleasure, of sex, and of the crime incident to the satisfying of desire. These characteristics are present civilization, and this characterizes our present civilization and is now at its height. It may be said that it is even on the decline, little as you may sense it. At the same time, there is found the open door of initiation. Both of these opportunities, if I might so term them, are found simultaneously present but the strength of the one is weakening and the trend towards the other is growing. Thus, the way out can be seen. So, relief is on its way, and maybe this relief stems from the elevation of planetary logoic. Let's see if I have this. Planetary logoic, yes. Sacral energy rising to the planetary logoic solar plexus. Okay. Well, let's see if I can do this, or whether it's going to, it won't. See, I'll do it that way. And we'll keep it in lowercase. Okay. So, what happens in the system of our planetary logos directly affects the little unit man, because that little unit is part of the vehicles of the planetary logos. And here, I guess we're talking about, in a way, the planetary entity to a degree, and then the degree of mastery that the actual conscious logos has over his own astral body and its reflections on the cosmic astral plane. In any case, the way out is seen. All right. In the above paragraph, the dominant planetary urges present in evolution are summed up, and man's reaction to them is noted. Well, it's a very abstruse subject, and DK is trying to give us a few threads to follow our way through it and at least extract a little something. In other words, the astral elemental of the man, and this is influenced by the desire nature of the planetary logos, is exceedingly potent. Let's just say, no, that won't work. We will say that the astral body of the planetary logos is as yet undisciplined, fully, and far from mastered. And I sometimes wonder whether the judgment day, said to occur in the 5th round, I think in relation to our chain, might not be the time when that second cosmic initiation occurs, and with it, the analogy to man's mastery of the astral body occurring on the planetary logoic level. So we have, the psychology of a rebel in our planetary logos. Maybe it all stems from his first ray monad, perhaps. And we have a stage of evolution which has been retarded due to a failure on the moon chain. And we have quite a conflicted astral situation which affects humanity profoundly at this time. Solar energies have also a dual effect. First, there is what we might call the pranic effect, which is the result of the impact of solar force emanating from the physical sun. This is what we call active fire or heat, not latent. it is radiatory. And this produces definite results upon the objective forms, and these are termed physical or vital. These enter the human body via the spleen and also via a center found between the shoulder blades. There's another center there too. It's above the diaphragm. It's a triangle called the pranic triangle. This center is between the throat center and the heart center. So this center, and that's important, the shoulder center in the pranic triangle, and let me make sure that that is covered, is between the throat center and the heart center in the spinal column, but nearer to the heart than the throat. Well, that's, I hadn't remembered that specific piece of information, and it's a good one, and very necessary when trying to work for the sake of others, or when there are pranic difficulties in one's own nature. So the first thing is the pranic effect. Okay, that's what he's talking to us about. That's the first one. And secondly, there are energies which emanate from what is called the heart of the sun. There's a lot of ambiguity around that term and different places for its location or for chakras which are associated with it. You know, it can be expressing on the monadic plane where in man the heart center is found. It can be expressing on the cosmic astral plane and is sometimes called the subjective sun. It can be expressing as the soul on the cosmic mental plane. And sometimes when we think of our own correspondence in our own makeup to the heart of the sun, it is the egoic lotus. So these sweep through one or other of the planets in 7 great streams and power into the soul of man. Okay, these sweep through one or other of the planets in 7 great streams and power into the soul of man and produce that sensitivity that we call awareness. Okay, this is so somehow important, the relation of the heart of the sun to consciousness. He is giving us the relation of the heart of the sun to consciousness. These 7 types of energy produce the 7 types of souls or rays, and in this thought you find the secret of our soul unity. The heart of the sun unifies all soul rays. And the rays coming from the Great Bear must, it seems, first pass through the heart of the sun, the soul, I suppose, soul of the solar logos, before reaching the instrument of man. Well, this is really, really interesting because, you know, this is what I mean by missing pieces. You read something, it's relatively clear, but you have the feeling that it's not the complete picture. Then, as DK says, scattered throughout my books, you will find your answer. But you have to spend the time and the cautious research to find the missing pieces. Energies emanating from what is esoterically called the heart of the sun, and these sweep through one or other one or other of the, I would say, at first sacred planets in 7 great streams and power into the soul of man and produce the sensitivity we call awareness. Second aspect, consciousness, awareness, sensitivity, a higher correspondence to the sense of touch. And these 7 types of energy produce the 7 types of souls or rays. And in this thought, you have the secret of soul unity. So I think this would be worth noting, that the 7 soul rays are effectively produced by the heart of the sun. And we're still here on page, I think, 433. Okay. So let's say 7 soul rays produced by heart of the sun. And this is Treatise on White Magic, page 433. And okay, 7 soul rays produced by the heart of the sun. That is, I had thought, or I had been focusing on the idea that it's basically the emanation from the Great Bear, which produces these soul rays. During manifestation, owing to the 7 types of energy impacts playing upon the matter of space, one finds the 7 types of soul, the 7 fields of expression, the 7 grades of consciousness, and of ray characteristics. So here we are dealing with ray characteristics, and we are dealing with quality. We are dealing with the here with the quality of a major septonate. These differentiations, as you well know, are like the coloring that the prism takes when subjected to the rays of the sun or to the tracery of pattern found in reflection upon a limpid pool. We've all seen the breaking down of light into the 7 colors in various contexts. So that's really all he's going to say about this. But it's really very interesting that the heart of the sun is the source of the 7 soul rays. I seem to need to write that down. The heart of the sun is the, let's call it, immediate source of the 7 soul rays. Now, probably they deal with the 7 sacred planets, but they make our way eventually to the non-sacred planets, of which ours is one. So they sweep through one or other of the planets in 7 great streams and power into the soul. These types of energy produce the 7 types of soul rays, and the 7 soul rays are unified by this great second ray source, the heart of the sun. Okay, so let's see if I can find this. Yeah, I think I have to copy this because it kind of disappeared right before these differentiations. Okay, so these differentiations right here, it disappeared. And during manifestation, owing to the 7 types of energy impacts playing upon the matter of space and all the different forms composed of that matter, one finds the 7 types of soul, which, how should we look at that? That's really, there's only one soul, 7 types of soul, but 7 types of filtered soul consciousness. Each soul type is sensitive to certain types of impacts, and not to others. And that's why as we ascend towards some acme, the different soul types have to at least have represented within their particular type of sensitivity some of the sensitivity that is available naturally to the other soul types. Like first-rate types have to learn to love. Second-rate types have to learn how to have necessary power. So a word which is important for the first-rate type is inclusiveness. It's a second-rate word. And a word that's important for the second-rate type is centralization. It's a first-rate word. But we have to borrow and appropriate different qualities from the differing rays. Otherwise, we will remain quite isolated in our own ray structure and really not able to understand. But of course, there is a unification here that in a way we're all part of the solar logos, which has its own great solar angel, and all of our solar angels at this time supervising our development are emanating from that high source within a still greater solar angel. And because of that unification that occurs within the source, we do have at least a relationship to each other that we can build upon without feeling isolated. And of course, we have personality rays on all the different rays and the different incarnations to give us that taste or that flavor of what it's like to live in relation to another ray. And we build into our causal body different colors that are correlated with different rays. So the unification does occur, and we're not left in a state of ray isolation, which is pretty, incommunicado. In the beginning, we're told the rays hate and kill each other, something like that. Let's see if I can find that, because it's quite an astonishing thing to hear. Rays kill. Ray kill. Maybe there. No. It's not there. Ray hate. Maybe there. Well, I guess I'm not going to find that. But the idea is there's a big conflict on the lower levels of development between the rays. And somewhere it is, and if you just put in one extra letter somewhere, that's it. You're lost. So anyway, the 7 fields of expression are formed, the 7 grades of consciousness, not necessarily talking about elevation, but differentiation, and of ray characteristics. And all of them really have their root in the white light. which includes them all, and which leads eventually to the synthesis of all the ray types. And even for a time, as a human being or down on our level, we transcend the need to think in terms of rays, but then it awakens again when we change hierarchies and or when our hierarchy is elevated to the position of what was a superior hierarchy to our own, and then again the ray differentiations take over. In fact, in the whole solar system, the entire universe, is a great septonate, and I don't think they're called rays, but that great universal septonate is the final universal origin of the rays. Okay, so he said it was an abstruse subject, didn't it? Did he not? I get a little bit stubborn about it, but he dealt with the planetary spirit and the planetary entity somewhat, and their kind of interaction and the way the human being reacts to them. Now, our initiator eventually is the planetary spirit. In other words, by the time we take our seventh initiation, the planetary logos, or planetary spirit, is our initiator. Sanat Kumara up to the fifth, and an unnamed entity, which is also an extension of, like Sanat Kumara, of the planetary logos, administers the sixth initiation. There's quite a mystery there. He just doesn't go into it. And since it's a time when a great decision is being made, we can understand the reason for the mystery, or at least that it is appropriate that it exists. And then meeting our planetary logos face to face at the seventh initiation. And we're not told immediately about the eighth and ninth, though it would be interesting if the logos continues. Sometimes I think that at the eighth initiation, some entry of what the solar logos is comes in fuller measure, or maybe I should say what the cosmic logos is, and by the ninth initiation, some hint as to the nature of our supercosmic logos, the one about whom naught may be said, enters the consciousness in just the most minuscule way, but the paths that we take lead to certain constellations, and those constellations are chakras. Within each one of those constellations is the vehicle of a cosmic logos, and our chakras within the supercosmic logos we call the unknown, or the one about whom naught may be said. Quite a destiny we have before us, but it's simply emanative retraction. We've come forth into ever more constrained environments as some division of indivisible spirit, talk about a paradox, and we return on that emanative stream and regain the fullness of the scope of our consciousness and capability. As a tiny, minuscule human being, as DK says, microscopic man, well, what can you say? We understand nothing about these things, but just imagine that Master DK had not written about this. We would understand nothing about these states, which to the masters are realities. We haven't proven it, but to them they are realities. A huge window upon subtle reality has been opened for us, first revealed and then I suppose opened. And it's a clear window, and then you open it and contact is greater. So we have a lot of gratitude to the huge expansion of our vision conferred by the writings of Master DK and maybe other messengers of the spiritual hierarchy of our planet. I mean, Master DK is a sanctioned messenger of the hierarchy, and he has the authority. He's been given the sanction, the authority by his master, Kuthumi, and by the Christ and by Sanat Kumara to bring forward some portion, maybe they consider it a tiny portion, of the ageless wisdom. And we would really be in the dark, just take a look at where philosophy is and the estimation of what man is when the ageless wisdom is not considered. And it just doesn't have the light, and there are so many errors in that illusion which are being made. So, as I say, when we're doing this kind of work, and I think I've been doing this kind of recording for, I don't know, maybe about 8 years now, that sense of gratitude sweeps over me from time to time when I'm not shuffling my pages and wondering where my saves went and other technical issues that I wish I was not bothered by. But the whole idea of the gift that's been given to humanity is extraordinary. Now, will we have the good sense to use it? Of course, you have to be somewhat along in your mental focus to approach this kind of teaching. Obviously, it's not for everybody, and that's not to minimize the importance of those for whom it is not, because we've all come through a hierarchy of ascension. Where were we in our consciousness back in Atlantean days? And if we came from the moon chain, where were we then? I mean, we always have to realize we've occupied a very low position in terms of what a human being is, and we gradually make our way into a higher intensity of living and a greater consciousness, gradually. So if I look at my cat, or cats now, I can't blame them for being cats. I can't say, why are you not a human being? Because it's all in cyclic timing. And you simply have to pass in that cyclic timing through various stages of limitation, but however, lessening limitation, always. Some of us human beings, after probably long and arduous and painful experience in which we've made terrible mistakes, and as he said, every human being has erred, and humanity has erred grievously. Some of us stand at the threshold of finding out what the fifth kingdom of nature is all about. And if you're an aspirant or a probationer or a disciple or an initiate, you're kind of included in that indigo circle that was given. Master DK's circles and illustrations, charts in the Treatise on Cosmic Fire are pretty much in black and white, and then came along a student who knows a lot about these things, Keith Bailey, and he colored them in so that the qualities that are represented are more evident. But within that circle, we stand. there it is. That's that indigo circle that I tend to talk about. And there are, of course, lower levels of it, just as the atomic triangle is in the lower part of the egoic lotus, and the jewel in the lotus is more highly placed. Matter of fact, there's a lot of mystery about the placement of the jewel in the lotus. It seems to be centralized, but it may well be placed somehow between the first subplane on the mental plane and the seventh subplane on the Buddhic plane. Well, I won't even try to solve that one or get into that. But now we're changing kingdoms. We have the opportunity to learn something about the kingdom of souls and to center our diversified consciousness at will within what we normally call our soul nature on the higher mental plane. Of course, soul is universal, and every type of consciousness, and this is important, every type of consciousness is a special case of soul. So we can't by any means think that soul as it manifests on the higher mental plane is the full expanse of soul or possible consciousness. It's just one special case which is higher than consciousness encapsulated in a limiting personal form. And it's been even more limited, than the personality. It's had mental limitations, and those were high compared to the astral limitations, and those were high compared to the simply physical, instinctual, etheric limitations. So it's always the little circle expanding and expanding and creating a wider horizon so that more and more consciousness becomes possible. And at a certain point, that circle may break, will break, even as the circle of the universe will break, or the sphere of the universe. But when a circle, let's keep ourselves in universe for a moment, on whatever level, when a circle breaks, do we think we're suddenly free, or do we find ourselves then enclosed within a still larger sphere? And I think the latter suggestion is the correct one. Until at long last, all these huge circles which are yet to come in our journey through this particular universe break and reveal only this universal sphere. However, we're told that, God is an intelligible sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. So when God is spoken of in that way, we have a super universal God, or supra universal God. And one day the sphere of any particular universe will break, and we will find ourselves restored to a supranoumenal condition, which is infinitely above the possibilities of any one finite universe. And we will all find ourselves, it's just mind-boggling, but all find ourselves restored fully to being the absolute deity and whose self-reflection is absolute infinity. And every time I try to think about what that means, I say, well, I miss this, I miss that, and I ponder the idea that every being is essentially and only absolute infinity, but it doesn't really stop there. It becomes absoluteness, which is the finality and has no articulation in it whatsoever. It's absolute homogeneity of irreducible substantiality, irreducible substance, and not meaning by that matter at all. just the irreducible, you just, nothing else, and it's maximized, it's infinitized, it's brought to a state which is ultimate and always has been ultimate, and without being created and without any possibility of deviating from its nature. So, we're struggling here in a certain level of minimalized self-projection, but we have to remember what it is we really are. And that's forever, and that's the absoluteness or the absolute. When you make a noun out of these things, it sounds like it has some kind of limitation or boundedness, but it's called in the secret doctrine the boundless immutable principle, and it's infinitely greater than any God. Infinitely, or universal God anyway, infinitely greater than any universal deity, which we also are. So the true mysteries of what we essentially are so profound that the kinds of things we study, they're just minuscule, and yet they are necessary given our self-chosen limited state. And all of these things, are part of the new philosophy, which will become eventually cosmology and will deal with real energies and their relationships and their diversification and finally their disappearance into absolute infinitude post-universe. Of course, there's so many enigmas and what can I call them? Paradoxes. I mean, the mind just can't handle it, So many paradoxes in a beginningless, endless sequence. Is it even real? Is anything but absoluteness even real? The great breath is a beginningless, endless sequence of universe, no universe, or no universe, universe. I mean, who is chicken and egg? Which came first? I oftentimes think, well, look, it's the egg that came first, because I'll just give a crude example. The reptile lays the egg, which becomes the chicken. It's mutation. But let's just say at whatever time we might select, there was always either universe or no universe. But at whatever time we might select, there was ever and always absoluteness without cause. We can't even say the cause only of itself, because there never was a time when it was not. See, I guess I've gone from the relative world in universe into the supra-universal worlds. But it's good to have these things in the back of one's mind, because the phenomenal worlds have many, many disappointments and much suffering. And the Buddha told us, don't identify with them. Well, eventually the day will come when we're told, regaining our universal logoic status, don't identify as a universal logos, because it's infinitely less. It's phenomenal compared to what you are as a supranoumenon. And I guess people wake up at a certain point and they become enlightened on these matters. And maybe they become very relieved once again to realize who they are. But even now, on the universal logoic level, we are there. We can't be anywhere else. There's an extension of what we are, which doesn't know what's going on, but what we are is there and knowing what's going on. So I just suggest that As we're studying this great gift which Master DK has given us with the approval of his superiors, there are only superiors in time and space and in universe. There are no ultimate superiors. There's only one being. So you can't have superiors. But that we, in this world of relativity, become very grateful to him for this incredible expenditure of energy. And to Alice Bailey, as DK almost, he jested. He said, well, for me, giving you all of this has been a labor of love, and for Alice Bailey, a labor. I thought, wow. At first I did a double take on that one, but then I began to realize the pressure under which she must have had to work. And a lot of the students there, they were people like you and me, and when they had to be connected with the master and opening with fear and trembling, trepidation, anticipation, eagerness, their letters from him, they found the pressure considerable because they believed in Alice Bailey and they knew that through her was coming the testimony of a larger consciousness, much larger. And we're on our way to reclaiming that type of consciousness along our own emanative stream. So I guess a certain confidence in the whole process is required, and a kind of interest and enjoyment. The principle of unrepeatability is operative, and always, as Master Moria would tell us, there's something new, and we always go for the new. For us, everything is new. He's speaking of the Masters. Live in the eternal and know the self as one. There is a power that maketh all things new. It lives and moves in those who know the self as one. All right, well, I've had a little contest with myself. I had 15 minutes to kill. Of course, my time is totally off. And I just wanted to see, what I might end up talking about to you before getting into this new section, which is all about astrology and the energies. So somehow I feel that I kind of want to do these long programs, but in fact, it's better to cut them a bit short. At least under the circumstances, so I can begin freshly here, and say that this is the end of number 51, and we're now on page 434, and this is the 35th program in Rule 10, and this is the end of number, let's see, where am I? That's a good question, right? This is number 52, and we begin in 434. I'm always getting some number here messed up, and we're going to go into this next very interesting section, with sort of the seed of the esoteric astrology book, and I'm still busy converting 435, and I'm not very far along, am I? It says 4 more hours to that end of that conversion. Well, I'm afraid that more is being put through this little computer than it can handle. So this is going to be 36, and let's see, this is 50, and this is going to be which one is operating now? 50 is operating now. This is 51, and we'll start with 52. I hope that's good enough. All right, friends, let's see when I'm able to start this. I hope right away. And the conversion queue is piling up, but if I don't convert, nobody can hear or see anything. So let's see what we can do. So, I say study hard, but of course that's advice to myself. What DK has given is beyond our ken, but we can anchor some major thoughts, and our lives will be better than if we had not met him and met his work. A lot better. Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.